Sleeves here with the Senior Pickleball Report powered by TNC Network. Let's get it going. Today we have the number one ranked senior pro player in the world, Rick Witskin. Rick is out of Indiana. He is a coach as well, and he ended up at the top of the APP Champions Tour points. He plays all three disciplines, singles, gender doubles, and mixed doubles, usually up top of the podium. Today we talk about everything from his fantastic season to his partnerships to the newly formed Senior Pro League and, of course, what's going on in the landscape of pickleball. But before we get started, if you like this content, consider subscribing, hit that notification bell, check out our socials, check out our merch page as well, link in the description. And if you need a new paddle, hey, Just Paddles, that helps us out as well. Link in the description. Let's get to the interview with Rick. All right, welcome back to the Senior Pickleball Report. Rick Witskin, it's been, I think we talked to you in March and a lot's happened.
Oh, my word.
Let's start, though, with the reason I had you on the show, and then we could talk about all the peripheral and the whirlwind that's going on in the world of pickleball and particular senior pickleball. But let's talk about your season. When we talked in March, you got off to a rip-roaring start. And I need you to talk to us a little bit about not only the partners you played with and the variety of tournaments you played in. You played in some exhibitions, but also the grind of being somebody over 50 and playing 20 plus tournaments. That in itself is a feat, and not be limping away from this at the end of the season, because it doesn't seem to be an off season in pickleball anymore. So let's talk about your season, Rick.
Yeah, well, first of all, I really appreciate what you do, and the fact that you stand for seniors is heartfelt in a time where seniors are at kind of a crossroads, as you might realize. And so thank you for that. I really do care about your show and what you do, and I watch your posts and all that good stuff. Secondly, I really appreciate what the APP Tour has done for seniors, in that they've live streamed some of our matches, and they obviously had payouts that were very obvious, and we knew what we were getting into. And nobody forced me to play close to 30 tournaments and weekends this year.
Right.
A happy marriage and 3 teenagers doesn't quite lend itself to go play 30 weekends out of the year. But one thing I did do, and when I talked to you in March, I had goals. And my 2 firm goals were, I wanted to be the number 1 player on the APP Tour, which obviously was the chosen tour of pro senior players for obvious reasons. It's where all the top players played. Right. And the second goal was just to stand out as a player that played singles, doubles, and mixed. I wanted to be the top player combining all 3 of those, and I feel like I more than accomplished that. So I'm happy. I'm not sure I would ever do it again. But at the end of the day, God is good. He gave me a good body, good genes, and part of that's luck, athletic ability, and B, a professional determination and high level college determination mindset played into those well. I mean, even last weekend in Mesa, which was a tournament I did not play, but I wanted to preserve my number 1 spot. And but I went there and men's doubles with Jose DeRisi. We were down 6-1 in the third to Tal and Paul Olin, who played phenomenal pickleball, and we won in 3, down 6-1, and then in the third against Gingrich and Weinbach, we were down 7-1 in the third after having match points in the second set. We came back and won. So just persevering through all of that, has just been so many. When I think back on all the matches, and I don't know if you know this, Mike, but I played more pro matches than any pro, open or senior pro.
I believe it.
On the tour. And my body, honestly, is no worse for the wear right now. I'm 6'3". I'm probably one of the biggest guys. Well, I'm definitely one of the biggest guys on the senior pro tour, but maybe, Deco Barr and I and a couple others. Although I was standing next to him, and I think I'm taller than Deco, which is surprising. And I'm sure maybe I have more fat on my body than him. But regardless, I think, when I look back on it, I think some people overtrain, and I have friends that are doing more in between tournaments than I am, that are on the tour. I'm like, man, if I did that much extra training in addition to playing these tournaments 14 hours a day, I think I'd be in trouble. So to each his own. I'm not saying there's one magical way to do it as senior pros, but I do hope people are aspiring to play in singles, doubles, and mixed like I did, because it can be done, albeit with almost an unhealthy addiction to electrolytes and and some intermittent rest in between.
Yeah. And I mean, you did, I think, did you do a little bit of coaching and mentoring in Next Gen as well?
I did that. I played in the MLP they had in Duper at Dreamland. We did.
That's right.
Battle of the Sexes. That was on a Tuesday night. And we did also the age depends versus dependence. So I did that. I definitely run camps in multiple places. So to say I almost played 30 weekends, well, it doesn't really encompass my full travel schedule.
Right.
But, at the end of the day, I built a brand as well. And
absolutely.
My wife understood well what we were doing. And, my wife maybe is really just the most amazing woman in the world, or just stupid. But I asked her to leave her nurse practitionership, and which she's going to be gone from that in a month, to fully jump into this crazy pickleball train that we're all riding, because she's a really smart woman that gets things done.
Yeah. Oh, I know that feeling. I have my wife keeps me alive, is what I tell people. I mean, plus you hosted an event. I mean, you hosted an APP event, which is no small undertaking, wearing all those hats. So we don't want to forget about that as well. You sort of a renaissance man, doing all things. Plus you have a facility, Ripskin obviously as well. So talk about, really, you touched on it briefly, but I think what gets generally overlooked is the mental capacity to not only play 30 plus events, whatever they may be, but also to balance all of the things you've balanced this year. And, you mentioned a little bit, you might not do it the same next year, and, and so on and so forth. But this year you did it. And where does that come from? You touched on it a little bit, playing at a high level in college and so on and so forth, and a little bit of pro as well. So talk about that, the mental grind of what you have. And you're having fun. You're not out there just, you're not one of these guys that just kind of walks around moping between points. You are arguably, without argument, you are the most entertaining senior player out there, and arguably the most entertaining player in pro pickleball, in my estimation. So talk about that.
That's a huge accolades, and I appreciate that. I was just telling somebody, I'm somewhat friends with Julian Arnold and his Andiamo, and
right.
Being courtside, hearing him engage the crowd in Hilton, that he was doing that singles, and I think he's good for the game. And we grew up, you and I grew up with the McEnroe and the Connors, and I even remember Guillermo Vilas and just some of these guys that were really interacting with. Nastasi hit a lob, went and took a drink, and then I think that's what pickleball needs at the pro level, because and sometimes on the live stream or on TV, it doesn't look as exciting as it is. So I would say that's generally my personality anyway, but 100%. The perspective of putting on a show for the people watching is something I really enjoy. And if I'm $1 for every senior pro that came up to me this year, said, Rick, I think you're really good for the senior pro game. You've got a great stick and your energies. And, whereas I think right when I first came on the scene, it might be have perceived as, this guy's a little too gregarious and maybe and he grunts and blah, blah. But I think now people realize that I love this game. And quite frankly, I love the pro seniors. I do. These are good group of people. And you probably saw with yesterday coming out. I mean, this is a really talented group that has all come together. And I mean, my gosh, in the world of divorce that we live in, whether it's, marriages or just pickleball and the two tours, and to have something that's wholesome and in beautiful alignment of people that have lived for 50 years or more, that want harmony. I'm way behind that, but I don't know that I fully addressed. Like, to me, number one, we're having those two goals. Like, many times I boarded a plane thinking, man, am I going to regret this, not seeing my kids? And
Sure.
my wife's left home. We're literally selling our house. Our closing is tomorrow. Last week I'm in Arizona. She's driving U-Hauls, like boarding stuff up. And I'm like, this is so wrong of me. So when singles came and it was a 6-hour rain delay, which it never rains in Arizona, but somehow we have unseasonable weather every time we enter a tournament. And so at 2 p.m. it starts. My flight's at 7 p.m. I'm like, I'll play until I got to go. And at 4, I'm like, I got to go. Matthias, I love you. We've had great battles. You beat me way more than I beat you. But and we all understand that the family is first. So, but we're just the reflection, which I haven't quite done fully. I know next week the APP standings is going to final list. I'm going to be doing a major, like, full reflection, but your show being first. This is, there's people way more impressive than me in pickleball, right? What Ben Johns and Anna Lee are doing is just unbelievable. And, I feel privileged to be a senior playing pro pickleball. So,
Right. Well, absolutely. I mean, I think the fact that if you look at just the points at the end of the season where you stood and against the men you were playing with and competing with in the point standing, and where Beth was in JW in Georgia, I mean, your numbers are unbelievable. The consistency you had playing mixed and then playing men's and then jumping in a really highly competitive singles after all of that. And anybody who's ever played singles, to do that as well in the same tournament as often as you did, and not break down and have the mental capacity. And still, I watched a ton of senior pickleball. I don't remember one moment, and I'm not saying there weren't any, where you were sort of, I don't know, just kind of down and grumpy. You were always up. I could see you standing and sitting on the sidelines with your partner. You were dancing between points, had some unbelievable plays. I sent you one where you fell down and you kept the ball going for a couple plays. And even, those exhibition matches, you were the highlight of it because I can tell you truly love this game. And I agree with you 100%. The group that you have there at the senior level, at the pro level, is enviable. You watch, the open pros, and it's, and they're going through some different things too. But you're tight. You can see from the Instagram things, you guys are celebrating. You're out for dinners and you're hanging out, and it's sort of a big happy family. And I'm so happy that we can talk about this now that you're getting your dues. Let's talk about NPL and what happened yesterday, because that is a major, major win for y'all, and proud of you. Really cool.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I want to just backtrack 1 second. And that is the mental, which you addressed towards me. Yeah. I can tell that familial feel when you're away from your family, and enjoying it. For any of our listeners, I really want to strongly encourage any of them that are trying to reach their goals, know that you can't just play 1 or 2 tournaments and hope that it all happens there at that tournament. Right. Circumstances and draws and all kinds of stuff. So I knew that I had plenty of opportunities to show what I was made of, but just the mental grind is so real, and just staying focused on the positive, the enjoyment of it, and the family. And by the way, Mike, is I play pro tennis, but everybody realize that the mental game, it takes constant nurturing. It's not okay. You've got your mental game, and in January it's gonna be the same in December. No way. Right. You're over and over again at these sites, and you have rain delays, and you think your gold medal match is going on, and you wait for 3 hours, and all of a sudden you're on back to back to back when it's 90 degrees, like in 5 minutes, and you never know what your schedule is. And you may be on a live stream, now you're not. I mean, heck, I wasn't even going to be playing on Saturday mixed doubles, and because my partner Beth, who wasn't playing, and then all of a sudden I text from Jen Dawson, her and I talked about playing a tournament for 2 years, and all of a sudden, like, hell yes, I'm doing that. Even though I had planned to go to the mountains, I was going hiking, I was going to go like, screw it, okay, I'm in. I'll talk merch. He's like, go get away from pickleball. Like, Like, yeah, sure. And then all of a sudden it changed on a dime. So you never really know, but just the mental side is so important. I want to encourage. I mean, I put notes in my notes section mentally. Every tournament, this tournament's focal point. So just everybody, don't take it for granted. You've got the magic sauce week in and week out. It is a weekly thing that you have to allocate just as much time and effort as it is, what you learned behavior.
Well, it sounds like you spent a lot of time in the moment, which is difficult to do because people are always looking forward. And the fact that you could go into each tournament and put those things down specifically about that event really shows where you are in the mental game, because I think all of us on some level are like, boy, if I could just accomplish this and this, but what's in front of you right now and what can I get done today? You seem to be really, really proficient at. So
yeah, well, and I will tell you, at one point in the year, I thought, I mean, I won, like, I think we talked about this before, but like I won with 8 different partners in all, I think 6 back to back in APP men's doubles. So I thought men's doubles where it's at for me. And then singles started coming on, like, I've been kind of pulling out of some singles, but I know I'm good enough to be one of the top 2, 3, 4, but I hadn't shown it. I'm like, I'm showing it. So then it became singles. And then, then Beth and I weren't even going to play in mix because we had the best team in nationals. He had 6 ailments, and literally an hour before the draw, we had already had the draw and we were going to not play. She changed, like, Rick, I think we should do it. And then we go and win the toss. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is just such a whirlwind. Now maybe it's mixed it with my back. So I still don't know if you ask me out of the 3, but that's just the whirlwind that it is, man. It really is. But
when I saw Beth Place singles against Jen Dawson, I'm like, boy, she is hurting. I don't know what I can't. And then I saw her playing. So I was like, and she's going on. Wow.
And she pulled out of the second chance bracket in singles in the nationals, which is arguably one of the top 2 tournaments. And that was
absolutely.
For her, she was hurting. So it was a shocker to all of us. Boy, what a fun day and a vibe at nationals, and the music and the live stream. Kudos to them for, like, that was probably the best memory of the year, was winning national.
Right on. All right, let's get to MPL. Let's talk about this. Like, first of all, what the heck is going on at pickleball, man? There is a new major announcement every week, whether it's mostly league stuff. So you all found your spot. Went earlier in the year, APP announced its Champions Tour. Got the name changed there, which, by the way, I love. And now your team league. So talk about how this came to be and where it's going. Yeah,
and it's so new that I'm not typically that cautious with my words, but I'm going to try and use a little filter here.
That's fine.
With what I divulge. But that being said, while I'm one of the people behind it, there's other really impressive people behind it. I will absolutely say to have the 2 number 1 players in the country or world and seniors together collaboratively, Beth Bellamy and I, I wouldn't have taken my role in this if she hadn't taken her role in this. She's brilliant. She's an attorney. She works hard, like, on and off the court. And it's just like, I will absolutely align with this. And, Mike, it's no secret that when you get 2 players like Beth and I medaling every weekend and spending 14 hours a day, every day, and we literally are killing ourselves, but we knew we are growing. And no offense, because the APP did treat us better, but still the money we're winning to get past expenses, and we feel like we're playing at a high level. It's a little bit hurtful to think this is the end game, right? So there's other ways to expand without hurting anybody else, that whether with the 2 tours and leagues, that we can make this a little more enjoyable, because it does become not enjoyable through the grind. I'm not dissing tournaments at all, but when you're consistently week in and week out, playing these long drawn out days, and it just, if you really look at the time invested with the training and whatnot, we weren't making a lot. And wasn't about the money exactly, but it's the level of appreciation. And you're right. We have great characters and role models on the Pro Senior Tour. It's like, what can we do to make this more enjoyable for ourselves and our brothers and sisters that are so phenomenal? And so this is where it aligned. And quite frankly, I mean, I've been with Chicken and Pickle running camps, and they were so good to me and us, and Amy Arbo, my partner in coaching, when I was there, that it just seemed like a natural alignment. And again, this was a collaborative effort on format. And boy, I mean, the last month of number of Zoom calls and meetings, and but we just could feel like slightly getting pinched to where the senior pros. For sure. Less money when the sport is blowing up and people are throwing left and right. That, all of the top seniors that are getting to the medal rounds deserve better than saying your paycheck's cut next year, yet the sport going up. That's not okay. Like, that's not okay. So,
and the fact that you and Beth and a fair amount of others have, would be in the top 50 of the open bracket stuff still, like, Beth playing with Anna Bright, and some of the guys in jumping in the open events and competing. And so it's not like you're that far away in difference. And a lot of you obviously played at the open level for a long time in different sports and pickleball itself. So this is a very, very high level product that you guys and gals are presenting. And if anybody really knows pickleball at all, and I think what's great is your group is very relatable, because people are like, holy cow, how old are these people? Like, yeah, they're over 50. And look at the talent level, the commitment level, and just as importantly, the entertainment level. Like, I know I love watching men's senior champion doubles because it gets really chippy. It's so entertaining. I know some of it would probably be a little R-rated, but it's fun because y'all care. And you're all competing, and at the end of the day, you're friends and doing your thing. But man, it's so entertaining.
Yeah, to think, you just made me think of my favorite moment of chippiness in a match, and it was kind of like not uber chippy, but it was Dane Rich and I playing against Tao and Mircea in the finals, and Tao, we were literally going back 7-7, 8-8, 9-9, and I had been kind of owning Tao in the cross-court, dinks left side. Yeah. And Tao won one against me. And he said, all day. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. I won mixed the day before. I literally haven't slept. And you just said all day. And okay, now it's on.
It's on.
I love it. We're such good friends. And so, and Dane would tell you, like, that turned the match, because it was kind of like ebb and flow. And we won like the next 2 points. We won the next game, like, all day, let's go. And, that's what people who aren't seniors don't really realize. I heard one commentator who I won't mention, but boy, what a dumb comment it was for her. For this person to possibly say seniors don't have great connection. We have insane connection. We love
insane.
It's a brother sisterhood, and we can be. I mean, heck, Dane beat me in doubles. We were at dinner that night, so that collaborative effort is a phenomenal thing. And to your point, Mike, I think this is super important, is that we love open pros, and open pros respect the heck out of us. You can just see the split age to know that, right?
Oh, that's an amazing event too. Yeah.
And so I've hated to hear, and that's another reason why starting this NPL is a really good thing, because when you get senior pros and open pros sitting under the same sweaty tent with the same sweaty smell, and all of us looking at the need for another court to open up because we've all been waiting for 2 hours for our match and wondering who's next, and they feel like they should because they're the premier and we're the secondary, and like, you can see how that could breed some negativity. And it's never personal. I mean, I remember talking to Simone and Hilton. She's like, Rick, I've known you a long time. We respect you, but you guys maybe doing your own thing could be a really wise move. I'm like, trust me, I agree. We're working on it. Deckel Bar, who's been kind of a known somewhat anti-senior. Well, that's not true. He said he loves the seniors, but he friends with seniors. But it's just, so to have some independence is a really wise thing, and it'll continue to cultivate. And look, you're right, Mike. We in rec play and whatnot, the seniors have way held their own. Gabriel Tardio's like, man, Mircha beat me in singles last week. I'm like, we are right there with them. We don't want to go forcefully go play their tournaments and take their money. We having our own thing. It's honestly a good thing for the pickleball world to evolve the way it is, and hopefully nobody sees what we're doing with NPL as a threat, unless there's just an entity that thinks they're bigger than God and has to own everything, which is that we're good to go with working with everybody.
Right. And you know what? I don't think this is an overstatement. Your collective group is building their future, because they're going to be senior pros someday, and you're creating the infrastructure for them. And when they walk into that, when all that's said and done and completed in X amount of years from now, they'll look back and go, oh, maybe a little more reflection. And I'm glad to hear there's no animosity, because you have to share space, and you're all trying to grow this sport for not only one another, but just in general, to raise this sport to a level that's elite and respected in all of sports.
Yeah. And I want to give a shout out to some of the Open Pros that have very verbally supported us. Dylan Frazier's watched a ton of my matches, and a ton of pros. He just said, "Oh, great win!" Like last weekend, after he got his second goal, and what a great kid that really respects senior pros. And he's 30 years away from playing in whatever we're developing. Right? That's really cool that he cares. Gabriel Joseph, we were practicing him and Crandall and I, and he loves what we evolved in. And Michelle Esquivel's like super. She's the only pro so far that I've seen that has commented what a great thing that you guys are doing. Rob Cassie's fully in support. So I appreciate, and obviously Simone and I've talked. I appreciate those Open Pros that see that this is such a good for them in the future as well.
Well, I'll tell you this, and a little bit. We don't have to get into the history of this, but when I shared it on Twitter, that document, the NPL document, the first person to like it was Rob Nunnery. So there you go.
Well, Rob knows that we've not been very happy with this podcast and what he said about money, but I don't think Rob's a bad guy. And I not pro Open players that felt territorial about attention, live streams, and money. Yeah, it's probably a bad idea to have considered the pot. Both entities should have separate pots, and then maybe the perspective would be different. But one thing's for sure, Mike, senior pros have been there, done that in multifacets of businesses and in pickleball, and probably a lot of us tennis in the past. So we're going to get it right. I had one strange comment out of the 1,000 super positive say, oh, well, the live stream numbers aren't great for the seniors. So like, hello, nobody even knew when we were going to be on a live stream. We were going to be on at 10 p.m. Like, you never knew. And by the way, we had 5,000 to 10,000 views within 3 days of our national mixed in Chicago. So, and we're not dumb enough to place all of our value on live stream. We will live stream one court for NPL, but that's not what it's about for us and our business model of surviving. Like, come on, we all have relationships we've cultivated for 30 years where people like you love us. You are one of us. And by the way, 9% of the pickleball world's one of us. So of course we're all on this together.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have no doubt with the collective competitiveness within your group, and like you mentioned, the knowledge, been there, done that, created things that have been highly successful. I would want to be part of that if I was an Open Pro eventually, because y'all know what you're doing. So we're going to get it right for sure. And that's, again, when you have a collaborative effort amongst all players. I mean, look, everybody signed with us that's been in the top 10 with the exception of 2. And I have, and they have open invitation, and we are not exclusive. Play whatever you want if it's not on our. And I understand the conflict that they're mulling over in their head. And so, but you saw all the players have signed, like all of them. I did.
And we've reached out to it. And this will be, you should feel really good about this. The number one response when reached out is, we want to see senior pro pickleball survive for the greater good, for longevity, way past when we're in our prime. Like that is beautiful, mature perspective. I'm telling you, almost every senior pro had that response. It was heartwarming.
Yeah. And that comes with living a life that's, a half century old and experiencing a lot of things and knowing things change, not just in a season, but over a lifetime and building something that's going to last, a legacy. And I think that's what you're doing. So,
I love your show, man. I love the depth of what the questions you ask. You clearly are a huge fan. And I just think we've got a great product that we will absolutely showcase in commentary. And God bless the Chicken and Pickle, because I just got to have to shout out. I almost got tears in my eyes when they said, we want to be the home of senior pro pickleball.
That's awesome. Yeah.
This felt so good. Like everything we worked towards was almost vindicated. You know what I mean?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. And, I think it fits, their model fits what you're doing because, it's a place where families go and they can enjoy the game. And then you throw this high level entertainment value to it. I mean, I don't see how you could lose at something like that. It's just, it makes me want to go to those places more, and they're expanding. And so it's really built in perfect for you. You can go wherever you want all over the country and showcase the high level of pickleball that y'all are playing. And people can literally sit there and eat and see it, which is, badass.
Yeah. I want to thank Paddle Tech and Air Feet for being my sponsor all year. And huge shout out to my brother, Todd Witzkin.
Right on. So let's briefly just touch on some of the other stuff that, is just surrounding pickleball in general. And I don't know, again, you talk about what you feel comfortable talking about. I'm not trying to give you any sort of questions where I, gotcha stuff. Sure. APP announced this morning, they're sort of putting a temporary hold on player negotiations. That was actually tweeted by the Dink this morning. And obviously, with MLB and PPA and potential TV deals out there and all the ownerships that's coming into to the sport. Just give me your feelings on what's happening in this sport beyond the senior level as you see it.
Well, one thing's for sure, it's been really hard to discern what's rumor and what's reality.
Right.
I saw Ken Herman 2 days ago in Arizona, and that obviously wasn't needed to be discussed with me if that's truly what's happening. But 100%, we hear from the open pros the direction it seems to be taking. Mm-hmm. I don't understand all the business behind it, but I just hate to see the level of acrimony that's happened over the years for the incredible sport that's life-changing for people's fitness, for people that have, I have a guy has cancer that swears by pickleball. And I just, it's not real to think there's not going to be any competition, but I really hope that there becomes more harmony amongst everybody, pros, tours, leagues, venues. I mean, I'm a pretty resilient guy, but for the sport that I love, I want love. And I can tell
absolutely.
And I just hope that, it's not all about money and strict business and, cutthroat. That's how pickleball is to me.
No. And, I agree with you. I was, and I've mentioned this before, I played beach volleyball for 25 years, and I watched the pro tour kind of go through similar growing pains that pickleball is going through. But I mean, it's just tenfold compared to, because the amount of money that's being thrown at the sport now and the celebrities and all the eyes on it. But seeing sort of the players being sort of Stretch Armstrong, for us who know who Stretch Armstrong is, being pulled each sort of way, and all of a sudden, let's just say you're a Division III tennis player, and now you're a pro, and you're given this contract, and you have no idea. You don't have an agent. You don't know anybody that has an agent, and you got to make these life-changing decisions in a short period of time, because
believe me, the people that are running the show, they're much more organized than the players are when it comes to this. And they have a lot more experience doing this. So, not to put you on the spot, you don't want to talk about this, it's fine, but let's, every major sport I know has a players union. Is that something people have talked about? Do you think that's something that's going to come down the line eventually someday? Because it seems to me that the players are being put in a spot in some level where they don't really have, it seems like they have choices, but do they?
Yeah, well, that's a great question and great thoughts. And I absolutely have found myself feeling sorry for those second tier high level pros.
Sure.
Maybe the ones that aren't getting the gold level or the super high stipends that are really good players and coming on. They're kind of caught in a quagmire of confusion. And I absolutely have heard statements by some players, Pro Open we're talking about, where boycotts have been discussed. You hear of terms like that, you think unionizing seems to make sense. I'm not that close to the Open Pro discussions, but I can absolutely tell you that I think long term that it seems like a pretty good idea.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've just watched the history of just professional sports or just, labor in general. And I get it. Do you want to be that player that's the one that's got to organize this? Because you're the one that's going to be taking the arrows for a while, and it's never a true smooth transition. I taught U.S. history for 12 years and I taught labor history a little bit. And, that is a no joke game. So I understand the hesitation by people that may not want to necessarily lead. But I do think eventually it seems to be that, that's the way it's going to go, because the hand is going to be forced if you don't want to just be some sort of pawn being, thrown around by these bigger entities who, by the way, are highly organized. And so I always think it's interesting when people say they argue about, well, why can't players be organized as well? Because they're part of this product as well. So just my 2 cents worth.
Yeah, your opinion is very valid. And I think you also know that the social media explosion of communication will exacerbate improprieties. And we've seen that in player behaviors and partnerships and things like that. But at the same time, I think that the way player treatment is evolving can very much be a social media. I wouldn't say it would be a death to operation, but I know that I couldn't in good faith work for an operation that seems like they're nothing but cutthroat and minimizing the value of humans just to get ahead and make an extra dollar in the sport we all love. Because ultimately this is a sport that is full of the human component, full of the incredible socialization benefits. And I would hope that people with a boatload of money, more than you and I have, would consider that aspect too. So I'm not talking to anybody directly, but I can tell you, just as one player in a league that's evolving, it's for the people. It's for the senior pros. This is not for bad motives. We live long enough. We made enough money. It's not about that, and I just hope it, goes in that direction. So social media doesn't have a whole lot of to talk about in a negative tone about pickleball.
Right. Yeah. And, I understand the player's position as well. I'll just use the word ownership. There's when you have somebody that you're signing people to play, 20 to 30 events a year, the worry of burnout is on the player's end. But when you have all this new talent continually rolling into the sport, that's where I worry about players just being sort of used, because they're like, well, somebody can just replace them if they get burnt out, and they get burnt out. We can just keep throwing all these requirements at them. And I worry about these players because, they're young. They have not had a ton of life experience in the workplace and in labor situations. And so, they want to please. I get it. You want to please your sponsors. You want to please the owners of the leagues and so on and so forth. But with the explosive growth and the depth of field literally changing every month, that's what I worry about, is these players with burnout because of what they're required to play. So
that's very, very fair and a serious consideration. Yeah, and then you younger pros coming over from tennis because the grass looks greener. Well, it'd be nice if it was greener, and dark brown. I don't want 20-year-olds to be misled to see that. You can't feel good about that.
No. Okay, real quick, last couple things. Let's talk about UTR. What are your thoughts? I mean, you're a tennis player. You've dealt with the rating systems. You think they can make an improvement in the game, take the game to a different place? I mean, they have a ton of experience, obviously.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, if their alignment was with APP, and if that, I don't know if it's a rumor if the Dink is publishing it or not, but that's an interesting dynamic right there, right?
Right.
What's evolving is UTR sticking APP. I don't know any of that, but I know that I think Duper's a good rating system. For the seniors, I feel like it's pretty accurate. I don't like the Duper system for how it assesses pro seniors compared to pro open players, because I think it's very low on that scale. But I'm not irritated at them. It's just an evolving product, right?
Right, absolutely.
And so whether it's two ratings, a UTR and a Duper, I'm just all for having less versus more. I mean, at any one time, you can see players looking at their Duper versus their UTPR versus their standing on a like. There's so much out there, and getting more kind of connectivity where it's one or two solid base benchmarks. I'm for that.
Absolutely, me too. Last thing here. Let's talk about your 2023 season and what you're looking to do, some goals, accomplish, survive, and thrive. So let's talk about that a little bit, and then we'll get you out of here.
Yeah, I had a lot of partnerships last year, and I'm really proud of those relationships and how we did in the men's. Obviously, in the mixed, I played almost exclusively with Beth. And Beth and I are going to play exclusively again next year. Awesome. On the men's side, Scott Crandall is my primary partner for next year in men's. I have Althoff Merchant is coming in as a senior pro, and I've got some tournaments set up with him. Dan and I are great friends, and I would imagine we'll figure out how to play. Doc and I played a few events, and I'm sure he and I will figure out playing a few. Derisi, great friend. We just obviously had a great tournament, and he and I will play a few. So that's kind of my primary partnerships. But as far as the number of tournaments, my whole vibe was this year, I want to reach my goals. I want to get there, do it, show I can do it. And then next year, kind of more of a perspective of evolving the business side. And I really love coaching, Mike. And I've been asked to coach a bunch of camps, and I probably will be out there more in camp instruction. But at the same time, this NPL is super important to me because we won't let senior pro pickleball die with the independent vibe. And so this is going to be taking a very big aspect. And by the way, if the APP is on hold or whatnot, if they're not throwing out their stipends and things for the seniors, then that changes the whole dynamic. So we're all in flux, right? And you're right. My wife and I ran the APP Indy Open, and that was cut for some reason. For next year, we're still running that, and I'm connected to a couple other independent tournaments that are senior pros, which is obviously champions and legends. So I would absolutely expect to know that I'm behind some tournaments that are very much for our people. So it's just that you never expected the number to be a little bit ambiguous. I planned on going to Florida, playing with Beth and Scott. There's two tournaments in Boca, and I forget the other Florida city. But anyway, everything's in flux, it seems right now, based on, like you said, every week there's something new down the pike. MLP quickly is going to come out with some senior delivery of kind of an appetizer to their main event, and I'm all for that as long as they don't need exclusivity that we can't play in a senior league. But I don't know if that applies to seniors or just the open pro. So who knows? I don't know. I put my name in the draft because I think from singles.
I was going to ask. I think you should. I think a lot of you should. Why not? You're in the top, 48. absolutely.
I definitely agree. I feel that way, but at the same time, if they ask for exclusivity where we can't do NPL, then that's off the table.
Right.
So,
right.
And quite frankly, the only couple people that aren't quite named as our NPL players, that's what they're dealing with too. So I hope
I get it. Yeah.
I hope that this becomes synergistic and we all work together, and that's the way we'll see how it comes down the pike.
Yeah. And you know what? I watched the podcast the other day that Steve Kuhn was on, and he said the same thing. He and I get it. People say things, but he wants it to be win-win. I get, the positions people are in and the deals they got to make. So he's same sentiment as you. He'd like to see win-win like we all win. And I feel that from other influencers and people that have podcasts talking about this. At the end of the day, people are like, we want everybody under some umbrella, that some commonality where we can all benefit from it. I actually think it'll get there. It tends to happen if you look at the history of major sports in this country with the NFL and the AFL and the NBA and so on and so forth. So we'll see. I got my fingers crossed. But another, I think, entertaining and tumultuous, probably semi-stressful year coming up. But that's what happens when a sport that's growing at this level.
Yeah, we have a facility in Indianapolis too that's called Pickle on Penn. It's going to be a $5 million all 8 indoor court facility in Indy, and it's going to be home of. And I'm super proud. Kelly Bonder and her husband are investing and creating this, and I can't wait to be cultivating that relationship too.
Yeah, well deserved, Rick. You work hard, you play hard, and most importantly, you're having fun. And we appreciate you coming on the show, friend of the show. Love to talk to you maybe sometime during the season and see where your head's at because of the whirlwind. But I'll be thinking about you, and I'll definitely be watching you. So best of luck this season, and thank you again for sharing your time.
Much love to you and everything you do to the seniors. And I also want to give a shout out to some of my fans, Scott Whitehead and Joe Wen were always asking me how I was doing. I didn't know these guys from Adam 6 months ago. And so there are people that follow us, and that's a beautiful thing. We hear you, we appreciate you, and we love people that are dedicating their time and efforts to seniors.
Thanks again to Rick for his time and his kind words, and of course, all the valuable information that he just gave. And hey, let's pickle.